being said, our lesson tonight may go a little bit shorter than you're used to, but I hope it will still be of benefit to you. Tonight, in the short time that we have together, I want to talk about two animals found within the animal kingdom. Matter of fact, as we have recently closed the book on the season that is summer, you may have seen these two animals out your back door, perhaps. And the two animals that we're going to discuss this evening are the buzzard and the honeybee. And surely each of us have some knowledge regarding this insect and this bird, because like I said, you can find both right outside the doors here if you look in the right place. And both have been placed here on this earth for different purposes as designed by the Creator, God Almighty Himself. He had a purpose for all things, and the buzzard and the honeybee are not excluded from that. While their functions are vital, they are radical in contrast if you consider it. The two animals fly, and that's about all that I can conclude that they have in similar, but they are very contrast in nature. And the buzzard, he is rather despised by the human family. We esteem, I think the average person would, if you were to give a description of the buzzard, you would say that he is unsightly in appearance, and he is undesirable. We want nothing to do with him, mainly because the nature of his work. And we know that his work is mainly revolving around finding the dead and devouring it. He spends his days around the stinky, rotting flesh of a dead animal. Yet in the balance of nature, this scavenger he has his rightful place in our environment. We need the buzzard. We need the vulture. And the honeybee, on the other hand, I would say that the honeybee is well thought of amongst mankind. It is respected. It is, I believe, in the past 10 years, they say that it is becoming less and less. Their populations are dwindling, and there's even movements that you can see on a car. The sticker "Save the Honeybee." It is an insect that is well liked. While we dislike the sting of such a small being, we do appreciate the honey that it makes for us. And I said that you could see the honeybee, especially in this past summer. Sarah Beth and I had a small garden, like a stand-up garden on our front porch, and we grew squash and tomatoes. And those squash, when they bloomed, we had little honeybees out there in those blooms, and I really enjoyed just pausing a few moments of my day to watch the honeybee do its work, and to watch also the hummingbirds that we have that do their work. But you can find them in any beautiful flower and various blooms throughout our vegetative kingdom. And you see the beautiful flowers that they usually inhabit. And it's no wonder that the honey that the bee makes is so sweet. And strangely enough, I said that you can see and come across the buzzard and the honeybee very often, especially during warmer times, but you can see the buzzard at all times during the year, really. But you can see them both at any time during the summer months. I would argue and suggest tonight that you can see the buzzard and the honeybee within us and within mankind when traveling about your day, and they're found in the different attitudes and dispositions that are found in various people. You see, some people, they enjoy dwelling on the things that are ungodly in nature. They enjoy gossip. They enjoy hearsay. You have entire television shows on cable networks that are focused solely upon gossip. You check out at Walmart in the aisle where you're checking out in the line. They have the gossip magazines. People like the ugly, the bad things. Why do you think that we said a prayer about the hurricanes and very, very much needed? Why do you think that is dominating headlines and dominating the news cycle? Is because it's ugly, it's tragic. And if news is entertainment, and people didn't like that stuff, the news wouldn't show it. People enjoy filthy things. Some people that is, enjoy hurtful things. They enjoy immoral things. I'm not going to go too into detail, but the things on our television shows are there for a reason. So Beth and I just recently watched a television or a new movie that was highly anticipated to come out. The original come out over 20 years ago, and we watched it together the other night when Brooks was with the grandparents, and Sarah Beth asked me, "What did you think about it?" And I told her, I said, to be honest, it made me very uncomfortable because of the things that they said, some of the references in which they were referring to. And this was a Disney sponsored, I guess, Disney-made movie. You can be watching a football game today and not even anticipating to see some of the things that will come across your TV screen. Why is that? People like it. People like common world. When I refer to people, they enjoy immodesty. They enjoy the immoral. I think people enjoy and get their kicks over telling and hearing a good piece of juicy slander, of gossip. And the worse that it stinks, the better that they like it. My point is, when talking about people that mimic a buzzard in their attitude, this world is full of people who love filthiness. The Bible refers to people who speak foolishness and whose heart work iniquity in Isaiah 32, verse 6. Paul, he writes of the unrighteous in Romans chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, and he says that their throat is an open tomb. With their tongues they have practiced deceit. The poison of asp are under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. And we all know, I think, all of us in attendance tonight know somebody that description fits perfectly. Maybe it's somebody at work or a family member, and their mouth is an open tomb. If their mouth is open, they're cursing. They're speaking in bitterness. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 12, verse 36 and 37, "But I say unto you that every idle word men shall speak, they shall give account of in the day of judgment. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned." I think Jesus touches on how important the words and the topics that we decide to discuss, how important it truly is. We're going to be justified by those words, or we're going to be condemned by those words. We spent the first portion of this lesson tonight talking about those whose attitudes and worldly outlooks and their likes, how they mimic that of a buzzard. But we are grateful this evening, however, that there are many Christians who love good and beautiful things in life. They think the things that they think of are those of which that are pure, those that are which are honest and just, true and lovely, and of good report. Maybe perhaps you recognize this list, and it's found in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. I heard recently on a Christian podcast I listened to, a man said that how do we decide of the social media, the TV shows, the music that we listen to? Is it of good nature or is it of bad nature? He said that you could put that content to the Philippians 4 verse 8 test. Is what you're listening to and watching, is it pure, honest, just, true, lovely, and of good report? And you might say, well, that rules out most of the things that are floating around on our TV screens and on our cell phones and on our radios. And you're right, because this world, like we said, more people than not are like the Buzzard. That's what they like. Filth and modesty, it sells, and that's what people are going to push out. Those, on the contrary, that are focused on spiritual things and the godly things in nature, they feed upon the Word of God, and it's also sweeter than honey and honeycomb. That's what it says in Psalm chapter 19, verse 10. They know that pleasant words are like honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the bones. That's found in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 24. These people, they love life and they endeavor to see good days. Therefore, they refrain their tongue from evil, as we read in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. So this evening, the question is, to be or not to be? I like, especially on Sunday evenings, trying to put a lesson out for those here, for something to think about as we go into a new week. And tonight, I want you to consider, as we start a new week, are you going to soar over the dead carcasses, per se? Are you going to seek those things that are corrupt? Or are you going to choose to feast upon that which is beautiful and good? We have many opportunities to focus on good in this new week. A week from today, our 5x5 gospel meeting is starting. And I heard a report recently, I can't remember if it was from house to house or where, but they asked Christians, why don't you talk, share the gospel, strive to evangelize more often? And common things that probably which we shared were that it was awkward, or perhaps they didn't know how it would be received, or a big one is that they don't know what to say. Or have you ever felt that way, that you don't know what you would say if you were to share somebody the gospel or invite them to church? Well, we have a great opportunity this week to simply hand over a flyer and say, I'm going on these nights and I'd love to have you join me. And I was thinking in preparing this lesson, and I actually thought about this morning with Brother Jamie. I think he estimated, I'm not sure where he got this number, but he said about 200 people would theoretically gather if we combine, I guess, everyone from the 5 congregations that are participating. And I thought, of those 200 people, what if only one out of all the families, each family just brought one person to our 5x5? How much of an impact could that potentially bring, and how many seeds would we plant? We'd probably bring an estimated 50 lost souls to 5x5 if each family and each congregation brought somebody. So there are opportunities in this new week to focus on things that are good. And to the contrary, there's also going to be opportunities for you to focus on that which is bad and immoral as we start this new week. I'm not trying to sugarcoat things this evening. I know a lot of you have social media. I can promise you, on social media this week, you're going to see gossip and slander and arguing and rumors. I think, honestly, I was considering it this evening, I think our world would probably be a much better place if Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat, if it never existed. I truly believe it would be much better. You're going to have opportunities to gossip and to talk like the world around your coworkers, because I assume, like me, you may be the only Christian where you work. How are you going to respond when somebody strives to gossip or to talk dirty? There's multiple opportunities that you have to either act like a honeybee or act like a buzzard in this new week. And ultimately, like the picture that Jamie in Matthew chapter 7 painted this morning, it's your choice. It's going to be ultimately your choice on how to behave in this new week. So this evening, as we close, we always offer the invitation. And I ask this evening, if you're not a Christian, why not? I was thinking about different circumstances or different situations where we read of conversions in the Bible. And I thought about Acts chapter 16 and the Philippian jailer. And it says in verse 33 of Acts 16 that the very night that the Philippian jailer heard and believed the word, he and his family were baptized. And he was able to rejoice because he believed. And even though he believed, he could have said, let me wait for a more convenient time. You know, I'm here at this jail, this ruin of a jail with Paul, and I need to go talk to my wife about this, or I need to stew it over for a few days. He studied and he knew what he needed to do, and at the very hour, the same part of the night, he was baptized. And he was able to rejoice because of that. And like I said, it is your choice, because later on in Acts chapter 26, we see somebody that had the same opportunity, but they made the opposite decision. King Agrippa, he heard and he knew exactly what it was he needed to do. And what was his response? He said, you almost persuaded me to be a Christian. And it is my prayer that when we stand on Judgment Day, that nobody here in attendance tonight will think that same thing. That we sat in service after service after service, and we've heard the word for days and months and years, and it wasn't enough to convince us. Now, I wish it would. We talked about, I think in Bible class this morning, one more word and we'll close. Robert, I think, talked about bowing, prostrating ourselves in prayer. And I thought about the concept of how it says every knee will bow. And I've always wondered, do you think God, think about the most rebellious person that you know, do you think that God will have to physically make that person bow before him? I don't think we know the answer, but I would suggest no. I don't think he's going to have to make anybody bow, because when that day comes, it's going to be so glorious and so awe-inspiring, every knee is going to bow. And I hope that we bow willingly and rejoicingly because we have obeyed the gospel. In the same manner, if you've been baptized and you've fallen away, I could ask you the same question. Why do you continue to linger on that broad road, as we read and talked about this morning? If there be any need, come forward now as we stand as we sing.